Hello, everybody, and welcome to another recap lecture. We have done lecture 3 on strategy, environmental analysis, and financial management before in the classroom. We're just going to quickly go over that lecture once more so that we have a recording of it for revision purposes as well as for those who failed to attend the class. Right, so going to start by understanding strategy. Okay, so strategy starts in that planning phase that we spoke about as a function of management, where you identify the vision, the mission, and the goals. So, what is the vision? The vision is the ability to plan for the future of the enterprise. So, not tomorrow, but in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, in the next 15 years, my vision is or our vision is as an enterprise. Okay, so you can say that the vision of sport today is to be the biggest um, athlete developing enterprise in Africa, or you could say that the objective of sport today as the name of the enterprise. As just an example, is to become the biggest sport goods producing industry in Zimbabwe. Okay, that will be your vision. Depends on you. Right. So, what is then the mission? What is the core purpose of the organization or a company? What are you producing? Is it a product? Is it a good? Is it a service? What are you giving to your consumers? That's the core mission or the purpose of the organization. And what are your goals? What is it that you will do to achieve that vision that you have set out? Right. So, to be successful, you need to conduct an environmental analysis, okay, because you need to determine the nature of the environment in which the competition is taking place or in which your enterprise is established. You need to understand your competition, their strengths, their weaknesses, their goals, their capabilities in order to gain a competitive advantage over them. You need to have a clear and detailed vision of what it is that you want to accomplish and when. Also, you need to use the above to create a suitable strategy, like I said, to give yourself a competitive advantage in the market. Now, there are a number of ways in which you can do an environmental analysis, and I've given you three, four, four of them. The first one being PESTEL. PESTEL is an acronym standing for political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal analysis. So for political, you will then examine the policies, the laws, the stability, political stability, and the corruption of the environment in which you want to establish your enterprise. Economically, what is the inflation rates? What's the economic growth? How are the employment levels? What is the average income, and so on. Population wise, that's for social. What's the average age? How what are the general career options available in that environment? What are the cultural barriers that you need to cater for your product? Technology, how advanced is the technology in the environment that you want to go into? What is the rate of R&D activity in the market, and so on? What's the environment like, climate change, what ethical issues you need to consider, and legally, what are the labor laws, what copyright issues are established in that environment, and so on. The second way in which you can do an environmental analysis is using Porter's forces. Porter basically wants you to identify the potential rivalry among existing competitors. So there are four major points of call. First of all, you need to identify what is the threat of new entrants. How easy is it to enter this market that you want to enter into or that you are in? Okay, and what is the bargaining power of the buyers? Do the buyers determine your pricing? Can you kind of manipulate your own prices? How sensitive is the pricing in that market? What's the threat of substitute products? What other alternatives can your consumers have? If they cannot afford your product, can they just substitute it with something else, or is it the only unique product in that market? And what's the bargaining power of your suppliers as well, which is similar to your buyers? Can your supplier say, look, if you don't want to buy our goods, we'll just go somewhere else, um, and things like that. Right. And finally, is the stakeholder analysis. You need to identify your stakeholders, know your stakeholders. You need to map them to see which of your stakeholders require more engagement than the others. Okay. Who visits your shop regularly, who has minimal contact with you, who do you engage with regularly, and who do you need to keep satisfied. And finally, a SWOT analysis, which we've done hundreds of times. That is the fourth environmental analysis tool that I have given to you. All right, so creating a competitive advantage is the next section that we will look at, and we will talk about operations management. In the classroom, we defined operations management as a form of administration task where you need to manage the day-to-day activities of an organization or enterprise in this instance. Okay, so we've broken it up into three. We said that operations management is a transformation process, it's a function of the organization and a management activity. So how is it a transformation process? Well, it's a process where you transfer or transform your inputs into the goods or services that are needed by the customers. Those inputs can be anything from raw material to your outlets, and your services and goods could be anything from a sport product to your events. Right, so it's a basic function of an organization. Operations are responsible for delivering the product or service to the customer. We've already established that. However, there needs to be a synchronized relationship between operations and marketing, because you need to make sure that what is being sold to the consumer matches their expectation. So their experience needs to match the expectation that has been built through marketing. And like we said before, it is a management activity. Right, so how do we finance professional sport organizations? We've already identified two different types of management approaches, which is profit maximizing and utility maximizing. However, when it comes to financing, we have three forms, which is public funding, sponsorships, and debt and profit. Debt and profit normally would be for profit-seeking enterprises who then run solely to make a profit. Okay, by debt, what we mean is that in general, they would have debt from their stakeholders or from the bank and so on. And sponsorships is where you get money to from sponsors, and they expect a return on said investments. And then public funding would obviously be from the government. Right, financial statements when it comes to finance, you need to have good financial record keeping skills. So there are three key financial statements that need to be in the sporting enterprise. First of all, you have the income statement, balance sheet, as well as a cash flow statement. So what is cash flow? It seems to be something that is important. We have a formula there at the bottom. Cash flow is used to identify the strength of the enterprise cash reserves. It is basically a ratio that is used to assess the capacity of the enterprise to provide sufficient net cash inflow from its operating activities to cover its debt. So how much money are you making as an enterprise? And is it able to break even and give you a profit and cover all your debt and so on? Okay, so we use that formula to calculate that ability. So once we have determined that ability, then we are able to evaluate the financial value of our enterprise. Okay, this is also important okay, in assessing our assets. Okay, so financial value of an asset is the present value of the expected future net cash flows to be generated from an asset. Okay, so an asset can be anything from people within the organization to equipment to technology and so on. Okay, so the evaluation process is known as discounted cash flow analysis. Remember, we did a cash flow analysis previously. Now we're looking at a discounted cash flow analysis. Why? Because we're estimating future value of an asset. Right, so financial management is forward looking. Okay, so we are looking at the future. It's uncertain, however, it focuses on cash flows and measures current market value of said assets and liabilities. Right, and that's it. Okay, thank you so much for your time. Let's keep studying. Remember, if you need any help, if you have any questions, you're most welcome to use the chat group to contact.